Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Almost Spicy podcast. Today we are joined by the founders of the Cherry Pit, a community jam here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're going to dig into that and the whole world. Give a round of applause for our guests, Marvelous and Skye.
Appreciate it. Thanks
for having us.
Dude, thanks for coming, y'all. Should I call you Marvelous or Leo?
Leo's cool.
Leo's cool? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Do you have a stage name?
I don't.
Are you a musician?
I'm not. Just a visual artist.
How'd you get on this podcast? No, I'm just kidding. Not a musician.
I snuck my way on.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure. Of course, we have Ben on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm here too. Casually.
More than ever.
Ben, are you a musician?
Kind of. I'm a lot of different things.
Say more to the kind of nature.
I like to call myself a Swiss Army knife of creativity. I dabble in
Okay.
pretty much.
I met him as a camera editor guy, and then we've been together doing projects for 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But yeah, dude, let's talk about y'all, man. Let's dig right into it. Appreciate you guys reaching out, coming onto the pod. And I was at the Cherry Pit this week.
Indeed.
What a good time at the Berlin, North Loop, Minneapolis. What can you speak on for that location? It's like a trendy location. People feel good going there, I think.
I think there are a lot of different opinions about the North Loop. And I think, so we're in our 20s. I'm 23. Skye's also 23,
22.
22. So
Wow,
young people.
I thought you guys were older.
And
I'm 23 this March.
So North Loop, I think, is a space that not a lot of folks in their early 20s or really in their 20s spend time. I think there's a kind of an archetype of like a North Loop person.
Dude.
Like folks that live in those fancier spots up there. And I think that when you think of a spot like Berlin, which is a new spot, just had the 1 year anniversary, like
That's
incredible
crazy.
club.
Crazy is that new?
It's so nice in there.
And our hope is that we bring more young people and more artists from the scene into that North Loop area
Yeah.
so that we can start to shape it a little bit more in our own image. And especially a spot like Berlin that could be perceived as an elitist jazz club sort of establishment.
Kind of
And it's very much not that. They're extremely supportive to artists.
Yeah.
And they offer guarantees, which is very rare
That's awesome.
in comparison to most other venues in the cities.
Yeah.
And they're down for the arts. And so a big part of our project in relation to North Loop specifically is the hope that more young people feel comfortable pulling up to a spot like that.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, because like you said, you live like kind of like U of M area, so it's like that pipeline, the Blarneys to the Loop pipeline, for clubbing.
Yeah, I mean, like I know that like I interacted with the Berlin before we started playing there. Like we would go out for like a nice, classy night out on the town. We go to the Berlin, we go to the Flora Room, which is around the corner.
And you're already at $200 spent.
Yeah, right. But like to see that space in the new light of like us being there is really cool because you're there and it just feels so much more comfortable when you're at the Cherry Pit versus like another night.
Because the Berlin, like on they give away matches, which is awesome. But it says Berlin Music Bar. It's not a jazz club necessarily, but it does give that vibe though. Like,
it really does.
First impression.
Well, they call the room a listening room, which is that's the distinction that I appreciate because a lot of spots you go out and folks are chatting the whole time, talking over the music. And as an artist, when you go and perform, you really hope that you're reaching people.
Yes.
And of course, there's always a degree of socialization that is like the guiding force in wanting to go out in the first place. Like you want to kick it with your friends and like
meet people.
Yeah, 100%. But as a musician, as an artist, like you also want a space where you can reach people and get down to the tiniest, most intimate sounds.
Right.
And the crowd will go there with you and they're not stomping over the top of it. And so Berlin is an invaluable resource for artists that want to run that gamut, that full dynamic range, all the way down to a whisper. And keep that crowd with you.
Yeah, it's a good sounding room and everything.
Yeah. My friend Dex Wolf helped to design the speaker system in there, and even to have somebody like to care about who designs the sound in a room, making sure that really skillful people are running it on a nightly basis. Those are things that that jazz spots in general and like deep listening rooms care about. And I always
those details instead of just putting something up just to make a profit. It's like have anyone build it or something like that.
Yeah, man, they're for the people. The making a profit is not their primary goal. Their primary goal is to have great art in the space on a consistent basis, and like that's evidenced by the fact that they've given us this weekly residency to improvise. I mean, we're there like almost every Wednesday.
It's almost unheard of, at a place like that. I would say,
especially in its area where it is, because it's like they're clearly like you're in a hot area. Like you got to attract people.
Yeah.
You got to have something like. At the end of the day, it is a business. It's got to be sustained somehow. So it is incredible that you're able to like have that residency and the trust of these people to like just go and do it.
And I mean, like we're talking with the venue too, and talking about like, okay, was that night profitable, and like how can we reach a point where it's sustainable for them and for us, so we can continue these shows and like being in that spot, you know.
That's good, that communication. You're direct with the owners then?
Not with the owners. We're in communication with a woman named Cecilia Johnson, who worked at The Current for years, worked in journalism and writing, and now she's in charge of doing all the booking at Berlin.
Okay.
She is fabulous.
Sick.
She's so fabulous. She's been instrumental in this, and like the fact that this even is happening is because of her.
That's awesome.
Because most people are not open to something like this, and especially open to the fact that it's like we didn't come to her with the most like this is what it is type of vision. Like we worked it out together, and the fact that someone who's booking at the venue is open to a brainstorming process at all is rare, because usually people who run venues are very business minded.
Like, and who's the headliner and how much, all this
and there are others. There are other spots in town that do it right. Green Room being one of them. Like Tanner owns Green Room, and Tanner's the man. You know, he's always putting on for local artists. And
I like that he's a young cat, so he's just like running it, with that energy. Being a young musician.
I don't know if he's even 30.
Yeah, I think
that's crazy.
He's like 28 or something like that.
Drummer, a fellow artist.
Exactly,
great drummer.
Which is great to have an artist in that kind of position. I want to get to the community aspect.
Definitely.
What's like the point of Cherry Pit? Because you said you showed up with a brainstorming session to Berlin, but I feel like you've had a product, since you did this at the Green Room last year. So what is the goal? I know one of them is community. How important is that as a part of the goal, the community aspect?
Well, that really is the distinguishing factor between what my solo project might be, what his solo projects might be, and any other artist that shows up to Cherry Pit. So what defines Cherry Pit as what it is this collection of individuals, at this point based in Minneapolis. We're from Madison, both of us, and that's where it started off as just an open jam on a weekly basis in the basement at my parents' house. Like
it was like a block down from where I grew up, So
when did you
in the neighborhood?
Madison?
I moved out here in 2021 for school, and then Leo came the next year.
Okay,
I think
relatively new.
Relatively new, less than 3 years in the cities. Yeah,
we've been to Madison Well, I played a gig there once, but we've driven through it. But it's dope. It's like a nice
I like
party
Madison.
college.
That's certainly a side of Madison for sure.
But it's got a cool level of depth, I think, that I've appreciated since leaving Madison. You're like, dang, it's a bigger city. It's like a bigger area that feels small. In a really good way.
It's got a charm for sure.
Yes.
So it started in the basement.
Getting jiggy in the night and whatnot. So we love. I come from a jazz background, and many of the people that I came up playing with also come from a jazz background, and just studying the full diaspora of Black American music and what that has to offer, specifically in the world of improvisation, and like learning those stylings and combining it with everything I was inspired with as a young person, and then eventually bringing that together with some community organizing skills and just continually hosting people to do jam sessions, then developed into shows, moved up here, similar beginnings where began as just jams at the housewarming party.
But like pretty quickly after some of those first house shows, we were like, this is something really special, and we want to like try to move forward at a little bit more of a frequent basis. And that led to, was it like almost every month and a half, there'd be a show with like a fully new band that they'd get together and come up with a new set list. And we kept moving to new venues across the cities. And
you've gone through a lot of musicians, right? Like the house band is not the same that it was a year ago or two.
The house band as of right now is Marvelous, which is my solo artist project. So I would the house band is like a collaboration between Marvelous and Cherry Pit.
Got you.
But yeah, what he's speaking to is the first season of Cherry Pit here in Minneapolis, which there was a different band and a different lead artist for every show and a different venue. But really what we found early on is that there's an incredible need among artists to gather to improvise and to gather to show each other what we're made of beyond our rehearsed shows.
Definitely.
Because there's a certain level of like stiffness and pressure that comes with the run of a show. You come up and you do your sound check. Like you go on at 8:30 and you're done at 9:00. And
well, that plus the promo leading up and all that pressure,
and the commodification of it. That's huge too.
Totally.
And so when it's just you showing up as who you are in that moment, maybe not even on your instrument of choice,
right.
And then as Cherry Pit, we're also trying to cultivate a specific environment where up until this Berlin project, which we're considering to be a new venture, has been building a little living room set at every venue that we go to. So we bring blankets, couches, lamps, pillows.
Let you like sit on the ground. Like we called it a traveling house show.
I love that.
Right. The idea of like bringing the living room into like every venue. Literally. And I think what was so special about some of those like house shows and the reason we wanted to bring it out of the house was this feeling that you could like go over to your friend's house or even like somebody you didn't know and instantly feel like more comfortable. Yeah. Like you could come into that space when you're like don't know anybody and you could meet 3, 4, 10 people while you're there and leave feeling like, oh, I wasn't just in a random empty room. I was with people that I get to know. And next time those people are going to be there again. Right. And I get to know them better. And so I think
like people and it just keeps growing.
And then that's the community building aspect.
Right. Exactly.
Yes. Right.
And it's so important. I mean, okay, so what day is today? It's February 7, 8, 9, 2025. We are in a crazy world, it seems, you know. So it's like it does feel like it's more important than ever to know people around. I mean, on TikTok, not too many TikToks, but you know, they talk about like go meet all your neighbors right now and like see, you know, hey, later I'm making pasta this week and I'd like to share some, making a big batch. I'd like to share some with you. Like, you think if you make a big batch of something, would you share it with me? And if they say no, then, you know, like if something ever goes down, you know, you kind of know what people are going to be there and who's not going to be there for you, you know, if the power grid goes out or something like that. You know?
Wow.
So that's when you know, the community, it's getting to that point to me, you know, it's like, you got to know these people around you, just even in case that day comes.
As a matter of necessity.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So that's important. And I'm glad that there's, you know, this team doing this work and it's appreciated, guys.
Appreciate that. And what we're also noticing is that it is difficult to reach a deeper level of like interpersonal connection, even at a space like Berlin or Green Room or whatever, even if we are curating the environment to be more personalized in comparison to a different show. And so another angle of our work has been trying to gather just
more intimately,
more socially, whether that just be like hosting events at the house with people that have been showing up for Cherry Pit for years.
Definitely.
Or we hosted an event at Theater in the Round, which is...
That's, where's that again?
It's kind of off campus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that
something like that?
Yeah, I think
it's by the Southern Theater.
Yeah.
And
is that like Cedar Riverside a little?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, for sure.
Precisely. And that's a very beautiful theater where the seating is all around and then the performers are in the middle.
Oh, I did see.
And
it was it was a really incredible event. We got to have all the beautiful lighting setups that they were using for like the current plays, and we triggered those during different phases of the night.
Oh, that's cool.
There's a lot of art in that area, man. It's slept on, that area.
It is.
The Cedar Cultural Center and everything. I mean, it's got a bad rep and everything, you know. I mean, just like people assume because of certain communities and minorities and people are, you know, scared to go certain areas even, you know. Like even like in North Minneapolis, or, you know, there's people who would be like, I'll never cross Broadway. But then like I live in North Loop, right? So it's like it's right there, but it's so different, you know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that fine. When I moved to the North Loop, I started doing this character, North Loop Man, and then I think eventually became him instead of a character. But no, all those stereotypes. So it was just, I wanted to do a skit and everything, you know, put on a cape, run around.
I feel like being new to Minneapolis, like I don't have like any of these preconceptions of the areas, and so it's like interesting. It's really interesting to hear how people talk. Like as someone who also doesn't have a car, I'm like all of the Minneapolis is very like amorphous to me. So hearing these like preconceptions of what different areas entail, I think is really interesting.
Well, it's funny too because like Minneapolis as a city is like it's in a constant state of being rebirth. Like it's like pre 2019, it was a completely different environment.
Pre Super Bowl, we're talking about.
Yeah, pre Super Bowl. I mean, like, and then like now you have downtown being dead. Like it's still kind of like it's getting back to like what it is. Like North Loop is now the new like example of what downtown life is like.
Yeah,
where it's like that's the most like popular area to be at, or it's either Northeast is now also becoming that other popular area.
So many dive bars in Northeast. People love that.
But
cheap
that,
beer.
exactly.
You can't get a cheap beer in North Loop.
No.
What would you guys say is the main social hub for creative people in Minneapolis?
It used to be Uptown. Uptown was like kind of like the capital of like all art culture and kind of like the clash of like even just like money, no money, like it was like
everybody
the perfect
was there,
like blending of like
or
everything.
the lake too.
Yeah, but it's not that anymore.
As far as like anything, I don't know if there is anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know
Are you saying like post pandemic that changed?
Yeah. Oh, entirely. Because like pre 2020, like
pre George Floyd too.
Yeah, exactly.
That was big for Uptown.
That whole area was like you could go out at night and like walk down the street and there'd be like crowds of people like everywhere and just like walking around and like
a Dinky Town vibe. Like
just was like waves of people. And
the rooftops, the restaurants, Stella's, everything's closed. Man.
Yeah, all that entire
Apple
area.
left.
Yeah, there was like an Apple store there. There was like
CB2.
Yeah,
I'm kind of bummed I didn't get to experience that.
No,
that was happening for sure.
It was a very like unique time to like exist in the city because that was like. At least for me, that was like probably my early 20s. I would say.
Good
like
time to party.
Very, very early 20s.
Do y'all see any potentiality for a return of the arts in Uptown and the social scene there?
Yes, no.
I could see it.
I think right now, like the example is like the theater that just got like reopened that had been closed for like
Uptown Theater,
for years. Was kind of like that like hope that reopening that would kind of spark more interest in bringing arts back in
because they're going to bring bigger artists there and stuff.
But it just it's not necessarily doing that because I think the area in general is still like
Well, that venue is owned by Live Nation. And so any venue that's owned on a national scale is going to be, like, for one, extremely commodified. And also, you're not going to be booking a lot of local artists there.
Oh, no.
They booked they think they booked L.A. Buckner and maybe Milo. They were really early on.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, hey, hometown heroes, like, come open up the local venue. I haven't heard of a single local performer performing there afterwards.
No.
Mind you, I'm not the most up to date on the Uptown Theater. But also, like, it looks extremely inaccessible from the outside. Every window is blocked off.
Yeah.
It's kind of an odd place.
Yeah, dude, it's
yeah. So I currently live in Uptown. I live I live right around the corner from Green Room, which I consider to be kind of like the heart of Uptown. As
it is the heart of Uptown.
As a creative person, that's the heart of Uptown for me. And then there's the Landmark Cinema right across the street, which I love. I've never been in a walking distance to a movie theater, which I find romantic as hell.
That is romantic as hell.
To just walk to the movies like that, I love it.
And they play the new movies too. There,
they do. They play good movies. There's like 3 or 4 A24 films that are on their list right now.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
So I dig those projects.
So I guess the question is, how do you feel like living there? Like, because being somebody that's so relatively new to the area, like, and you don't necessarily know, because obviously we've been talking about the preconceived notions of like, a lot of people in the suburbs and everything are like, Minneapolis is a terrible place. It's dangerous. Crime, dangerous. Right. And that's kind of where a lot of it is like.
Man, so first of all, those people are ignorant and oblivious, and there's a lot of people in my family that think that way, that talk about it as shitty-apolis,
And they never been. They've been once.
Talking about, like, I had bad business dealings one time, and I can't come back here.
The culture sucks.
Highly dramatic.
What do you mean bad business dealings?
And a man lives, up in Anoka or Spring Lake Park or something. I'm like, man, like, don't talk about Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know.
You have to live there and you'll see.
Honestly, I love Uptown.
Yeah.
And
it's good food, dude.
And I see it growing more and more.
Yeah.
I run to Green Room in 2 minutes from my house. Take a little jog. I'm there. There's the Uncommon Grounds Cafe.
That's a
Isles
place.
Bun and Coffee. There's a bodega there on Hennepin. Like, I see places opening up. The Breakfast Club just opened up.
Yeah.
Shit. Those cinnamon rolls at Isles, I've heard are.
Yeah. Puppy dog tails, $2.
Sheesh.
Get a coffee in
That's
there.
the best food. There's no food in North Loop. Like all the food is on.
It's extremely overpriced, and and they're not giving you anything special.
And it's all burgers.
You go into.
I was gonna say, what do you mean that all North Loop is entirely food?
And it's entirely burgers, and they're all $19. To me, that's what I've perceived.
Well, I mean, there's so many restaurants there, though. That's
I just don't like spending $30. Like
that's
on
valid.
entree.
That's valid for sure.
I just been cooking, bro. But
I mean, we're all, I think, sick of these weird uppity restaurants that charge hella money for they add some weird ingredient to it, like a duck foot or like or like a piece of mint that's purple for some reason. They charge charge it by $15, and it's like, man, nobody needs that shit.
Could have got it without the mint. You should have told me. I already brought it out.
Yeah.
That's wild. No, for real. No, Uptown. Yeah, I think it'll come back. I mean, you can't replace that lake and everything. It's like it's beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's got all the right things going for it, but it's just it needs that capital investment to be there, and the right capital investment. Because my problem with it is that you had basically the George Floyd protests, a lot of shit got burned down and stuff like that, and the people that bought up these properties were people looking to plow it and put up these
buildings?
Apartment complexes. And it's like we don't need more apartment complexes. Like you need more of a reason to be there rather than just these, because there's already enough apartment complexes down there. Like they just started to fucking throw.
You need storefronts and stuff to interact with.
And it's like
exactly. Third places, right? What about the third place? I mean, Cherry Pit, it's kind of like a third place. The concept of it's not work, it's not home.
Sure,
you need somewhere else.
Well,
that's the hope.
And the third place is always going to be that community aspect. And if that's what you're building, that's to a lot of people. Be that third place.
One thing I think that's been really nice about having the regularity of every Wednesdays is I have some friends now that the only time I see them in a week is at the Berlin.
Yeah,
we meet up there.
Going on.
Yeah, but we know that there's this scheduled thing. We're gonna sit down and listen to some incredible music,
or play, or just listen.
Have
a drink.
Yeah, I mean, we have a little corner where we have sketchbooks out and we're drawing the musicians and
that's really cool because that's going far beyond it just being you're showing up and you're just there. You're actually building memories, you're building art, you're
we talk about the physical a lot.
Yeah,
and that reminds me that the sketch is bringing it to real life, a real product, a sticker or something.
Yeah,
beyond the Instagram page or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But speaking of Instagram, your content's looking great.
Appreciate that,
of course, and you're getting it out like that. It was, you see footage of last night in the morning, so it's that drive and everything. It'll keep you going.
Yeah. We got friends that are looking out for us that are pulling up with cameras. Or
a team, dude.
Brainwater, who actually lives one house away from y'all.
I met him that day.
Yeah, he was there shooting and then just sent us that recap video that you must have seen the next day. So here and there, we got folks looking out for us. That's so important. That'll pop out for Cherry Pit and help. Because people give back, because people have really felt like they've received value from us.
Exactly.
And when that happens, people will just offer things to you. And that is the most rewarding.
That's how you know you
and hopefully we can give back to those people, right?
And it's a cycle. You gave them that, and then they gave it back, and then you keep going.
I think one thing that's unique about these current set of shows is that there's no other time at the Berlin where a musician can go play there without having set up. Being on
booked.
Without getting booked ahead of time, right? I had a friend who played this last Wednesday, and he said this was one of his first times playing in front of people ever. And he went up there, and he was it was scary, but incredible. And the audience, amazing. Everybody clapped during his solo when he tried it out. And
there's plenty of places to do stand-up comedy, open mic, but there's not many of these open mic vibe. For musicians. So this is awesome.
At least not that are as welcoming as our spaces. Flavor World,
well promoted, I can say too.
Well, a lot of it does feel kind of secretive or even clicky because of the fact that they're not promoting it well, even if it's not meant to be clicky. Right. But there are specialized jams. There's a jazz jam at Whitey's Old Town Saloon.
Love that. Yeah, I was it's good.
Really unfortunate name for a business. There's a new jazz jam at Volstead's Emporium on Sunday nights.
Oh, it's Sunday
that's
nights.
cool.
Okay.
There is
that place is low key. They gatekeep themselves now.
Yeah, but that's fine. That place is its own little entity.
A little hole.
The thing is, they got me with their aesthetic. I love the
steampunk,
true 100 years ago Prohibition era style speakeasy with the red light. Yeah, we fuck with that. And then there's the Snapped open mic at Green Room, which is every Thursday night, and they have a live band, and it's mostly for vocalists that can pop out, and each vocalist has a moment. It's almost like live band karaoke, but it's definitely more refined musically than that.
Okay,
it's a bunch of incredibly talented gospel musicians. Well, they're based in the church, but they play just about anything.
And then vocalists will sign up basically and do a cover.
Yeah, and musicians filter through, but it's not like at Berlin, we give every musician a chance to play,
Every
or at
part.
least we try to.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, if you're a bass player, you get a solo if you want one.
Right.
Whereas at the Snapped open mic, it's more about the vocalist having their moment to shine.
Got you.
So it's just a different emphasis. It's all valid.
Yeah.
And I really like appreciate the opportunity to be able to like have that moment just for the bassist to play, just for like, I don't know, like the last time I heard just like a bass solo. Like, I mean, like as someone who's
Usually
not
people
as,
talk
like,
over them.
fully ingrained, right? It's like
It's so
quiet. You
true.
got to like give it a moment of reverence to really like
Yeah.
absorb it fully. And so while we do have some like really incredible vocalists that came out, and I'm just sitting there and like I turn towards the audience, and then I look back and I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe that's coming out of it. You know,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful contrast that we can get,
Dude, yeah.
and that people feel comfortable playing the other stuff too.
Yeah, the music open mics I've seen just like, I mean, it's like barely one PA and you might be able to bring an acoustic guitar and sing your song or whatever, but this is like, and so do you keep a lot of like guitars and basses at the Cherry Pit, or are you counting on people to bring their own stuff mostly?
Well, the drums are there. We got cymbals set up. The piano is there. There's a bass amp and a guitar amp.
Okay.
We don't have house instruments. Like we don't have horns for people to play. We would rather people bring their own instruments. Yeah.
Good to know. Everybody listening, bring your instruments.
Bring your instruments. I mean,
We've had people share, like if they brought a guitar
because
and someone needs one, they can borrow from other.
Nice.
Yeah.
People are kind.
Yeah.
But it's good to bring your own stuff.
Yeah. No, that's good to know. But not the amp, so I'll be straight. I'll just bring the guitar. It'll be good.
Definitely. Yeah. Sound is going to be set up.
Okay.
Which is the main thing. It's like as artists, it gives you a chance just like hop up, don't even think about it. I mean, like harkening it back to this idea of it being regimented where you need to come and sound check and then you have this set amount of time. It's like this provides a whole different format for you. And like one thing that I've realized as a lover of music is that I appreciate when I'm experiencing music just out in the world the most. I mean, the last place I lived in, there were 3 trumpet players that lived in 3 different houses surrounding my house. And on any given day, I would just like hear a horn floating in the distance, or I would be walking around the neighborhood and I hear.
That's awesome though.
I'm like, oh, I'm really living right now.
Yeah.
This feels great. Or someone passes in their car and it's like, dun, 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 they're not like us, and you can have that moment, and it's like, man, I'm really a part of the culture.
Yeah.
Just walking down the street.
And it's connecting to music as opposed, you don't have to be on stage to feel that.
Yeah. So
awesome.
That's my favorite musical experience as a listener, is when I feel like I'm just living my life and the music kind of just creeps up on me and it becomes the soundtrack of my moment. And I understand that Berlin isn't exactly that either. It's still at a venue, but it's at least one step in a different direction. Yeah. But we're trying more and more to find unique ways for people to experience music where it's like surprise.
Yeah. No, you're doing the Lord's work, gentlemen. Let's talk about your influences musically. I want to know kind of what you each heard growing up in the house. What made you fall in love with music? You know, kind of big names you might want to share.
I mean, I could start because I think I don't have a good answer. I mean, like I'm a visual artist of multimedia, but when it comes to music, my main passion is like creating visual art that helps represent those musicians.
That's what you said. You're not a musician.
Yeah.
Visual artist. Okay.
Which I actually think is really fun. It allows me to like approach creating art for the Cherry Pit and for musicians from like a different side of it. You know, like one of my favorite things during some of our early shows is I would sit down with musicians and we'd hear some of the music and I would just be able to like write down the visuals I saw based off of the music and then pitch and go like, hey, does this feel representative? So for me, I hope to bring to the Cherry Pit the art direction side, creating visuals. And so it's less coming from a personal place of music and more like making sure that the musicians that are part of the Cherry Pit make sure that their vision is really...
They're getting represented.
Yeah.
That visual is so important. Like a video for a song is like nowadays I feel so important. It's how people find music. That's how I used to find music, as a kid, 10 years ago, just YouTube videos. But so you say you were drawing the musicians too yourself? Yeah, I mostly do like 2D or like non-video format visual art. So a lot of that, like any of the posters that are going up there, the promotional posters, we're doing photo shoots. You're an illustrator, Photoshop, everything. Yeah, good shit. Yeah. Fuck yeah. And then moving into hopefully video formats. Good. Like absolutely. Yeah. And what about you, Leo? Music-wise, what made you fall in love? You said you come from a jazz background.
Well, when I was young, we would have mommy days and we'd have daddy days. So my parents would trade off who was taking care of me. And so my dad would play for me U2, Metallica, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash. My mom would play for me Paul Simon, like Simon and Garfunkel, Nina Simone.
Nice.
There's some Herbie Hancock in the house, some Duke Ellington. So some of the jazz that I was listening to as a kid, I didn't know what it was because I couldn't identify it at 2 or 3 years old.
Right.
Whereas like I could recognize a Willie Nelson song because I could hear his voice.
Right.
And then over time, I graduated from my parents' taste in music and started to listen to a lot of rap, like a lot of Kendrick and J. Cole. I listened to a lot of Drake. It's pretty embarrassing now.
We'll cut that. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll cut that out. It was just Nothing Was the Same. I can stand on that kind of.
Yeah,
Nothing. 2013, Nothing Was the Same. I think was
album
a great record.
Yeah.
And then once I got to high school, I was getting more into jazz and getting into artists like Thelonious Monk.
Okay.
And
good shit.
Yeah, Chick Corea. Some of my biggest influences, period, are Ray Charles,
Fuck yeah.
Esperanza Spalding,
Nice.
Tom Waits, Frank Zappa, Nina Simone.
Frank Zappa was a freak, wasn't he?
His first record, 1966, was called Freak Out.
Jeez.
There you go.
Boom.
Yeah. So I love. I love.
Freak off. No,
He
freak
did some
off.
cool like political stuff.
He did what now?
Like some political stuff too.
He was extremely political.
Yeah.
Frank Zappa
He
would
was
go
wild,
speak in
dude.
front of Congress. He
Yeah.
was a huge advocate for lack of censorship in music.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Because
I learned
that whole
about
parental advisory thing.
the sticker.
He was
Really?
he was against that. Wanted
Well, that was a ploy. That was a marketing thing. That's what I understood it. To
It was
be.
a
True.
it was a religious thing too.
Reagan era bullshit.
Okay.
Yeah, there was this
My favorite.
there was this like group of wives of congressmen that were really upset with the profanity in music.
Really?
Yeah, so they created
Also my
this
favorite.
they created this list of I forget like the Dirty 15. There's the songs they thought should be like banned from the
worst.
internet. And because they had connections in the government, they got this passed through and ended up disenfranchising.
But
a
it
lot
seemed
of
like it
voices.
backfired. I think it ended up helping a lot of artists sell more records.
I think it took a while to get there.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
I learned about this a little bit. Like initially, I think it really tanked some people's music because mostly record stores wouldn't have your music there anymore.
Oh, okay.
If it had the sticker on it, and
That's
radios wouldn't
wild.
play it, and so I think it
Yeah.
probably took a while before music really started seeing it as like something to play with and like play off of. And like now, I don't know the last time I ever noticed a sticker.
Yeah,
like you ever paid
yeah.
any heed to it
Well,
whatsoever.
I don't think there's a regulation anymore to put the sticker on. I think people just do it now to like fit
Yeah, I don't
a
know.
look. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think you're required to put the sticker.
I wonder.
I think you are
There might be.
required. I
Because
think you are
you have to
required.
say, is this explicit, yes or no? And then they'll put on a big E on the embedded
that's
of
true.
the
That's
Spotify.
true.
But
That's
your
true. That's
artwork
true.
doesn't have to say
Right,
parental
like-
advisory.
yeah.
Right.
you know? We would just do it. Like we made the homies like kind of like a rainbow
SoundCloud days. Fucking
logo
right, yeah.
for the parental advisory. But, it's dude. That's U2. I was thinking about U2 recently, but that was one of the first bands I heard too. And my mom put me onto Metallica as a youngin', so that was impactful for sure.
Yeah, there's a record called How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, which I think came out the year I was born, 2001.
Okay.
And there's a first track, Vertigo.
Yeah.
It's so funny looking back on it because it ends and he's going, yeah, 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 yeah. And looking back on that, that's the funniest way you could ever end a song. I think Bono was in a South Park episode getting spoofed,
Yeah.
and he pulled up to the episode, and they weren't calling him Bono. I think they were calling him like the biggest piece of shit in the world. It was like his name.
Classic South Park.
And whenever he came into a room, he was like, yeah, 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 yeah.
That's so fucking funny, bro.
I guess they had a bone to pick with Bono,
Bro,
and
that-
probably
that's not for them.
several hundred other people. But
There's a
Yeah.
lot of artists that have a bone to pick with Bono. Like,
And
Oh,
South
with
Park
Bono,
is just
yeah.
comes for everybody.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Bono recently had said like that he just now like became like a decent singer in his own eyes. Like he didn't know how to sing in those first records. But the fact that he would just do it is pretty cool.
Mm.
But yeah, no, people judge him.
I'm almost disinterested in artists in general, like diagnosing their own skill level, because it could be perceived as a level of humbleness, whether it be like honest or facetious.
Mhm.
And when it comes, I'd rather hear an artist talk about their why and how, their emotional reality, their artistic reality, rather than their own diagnosis of their skill level.
Yeah.
Because
for
most
real.
artists speak to their own skill level downwards.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
because you get looked down on if you were like, yeah, I think my shit's great. People are gonna be like, well, that's a little bit of like,
like, damn, it's not that good.
Yeah, or like
People can pull it
you-
off. I mean, Tyler, the creator,
No,
in an interview, will sit there and is like, yeah, I make great shit. I make great shit
No,
all
totally.
the time. And like, but he's, hyper confident individual.
Yeah.
But like it's
Yeah.
part of his like brand. It's not even
Yeah.
necessarily
Mhm.
him being like maybe that is just genuinely how he feels, but
Yeah.
it becomes more a statement of like how do you
He's
want to be
also got
perceived.
the talent to prove it.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Because it's like
Sure.
the receipts are there. It's like, dude, I was thinking about this actually today. Funny enough, like he went from like programming in FL Studio to being able to compose an entire arrangement and have it be played by other artists, which is like,
Does he compose?
yeah, he composes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyler's
like-
deep.
Because
Yeah.
the like Christmas album,
Oh,
Like,
shit,
that's
he
all
did do
composed
that,
by
yeah.
him.
But he started with nothing. With
Yeah.
just MIDI or like.
yeah,
whatever
he was
sound.
literally like, again, it's like FL Studio, like you're programming all your like drums and
Yeah.
shit.
That's pretty cool. I love
And-
self-taught people.
And you're talking
Yeah.
about Tyler's brand being his authentic voice. Like that is something that we should speak to as creative folks, where he's able to be at least what I perceive to be his authentic self. I mean, that could even be like some angle of his personality that, that he's amping up.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Aren't we all playing a character? Aren't you today playing the Leo character in Everyday Maybe?
Sometimes you
I'm
have to just be your
I'm
authentic self,
talking
right?
a little louder than I might otherwise.
Yeah.
And I'm working to be somewhat more precise in my language,
It's very,
but
you're doing a great job.
I'm not at all altering
yeah.
or putting on.
I mean, for me, when I say that, I mean like just to get deep real quick. But it's like we talk. It's a Buddhist thing. My soul, or no, okay, my body, my mind. So I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my body. My body's doing this. But who am? Who does that belong to? So then they say it's the soul. That those things belong to. So I don't know. Just thinking out loud about that.
Yeah. Well, one thing that has stuck through with me really recently is this idea that like so much about like marketing and promotion is following trends, right, on the internet right now. Like making sure your clips are like 6 seconds short, and then you got that 3-second intro interaction period, all that shit. But then when you look back at like the great artists and look currently at great artists, they're people that are their brand is closer to hopefully their authentic self. And so I think as like artists and groups that are sort of more up and coming, that's really inspirational as like, there is sort of this sense of like really just stick to who you are and your authentic self as close as possible.
I agree.
And hope that stands the test of time a little bit.
I always argue that like we're all unique, so and every musician is unique, and it's like whether it's good or bad, it's unique. So could be the reason why the world falls in love with your music. It's because there's nobody else literally like you.
Yeah.
But then to the same argument, maybe we're all the same. But for me, it's the same thing: black and white, nothing, everything, yin yang. We're all the same, but we're also all unique.
Yeah.
It's got to be unifying and differentiating factors, right?
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
No, for sure. Yeah, dude. We covered some stuff. What else? I have some notes. I don't have my phone. I don't have that many notes. I'm trying to think, man. What was on my notes? What do you have?
Well, I was going to ask something that I notice in the room right now. You guys both are fitted up with very interesting threads.
Beautiful outfits.
So, like, what is your like style inspiration? Because like I feel like you've got like a whole arrangement of a bunch of different things that's going on. That's really cool, and it's all like piecing together. But like that, like kind of run through kind of your like style.
I mean, it's sick. Two cats from Wisconsin. It's like
Yeah.
some New York boys.
This is my comfort. I forgot that the podcast would have video.
You forgot it was a video.
Yeah.
But to say that this is my comfort clothes, and you're like, dude, yeah, the Coogee with the fucking like.
God. But these are thrifted
corduroy?
pieces, perhaps,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. All this is thrifted.
That's the best way to go at it.
My girlfriend made these.
Yeah, I love the earrings.
Ooh,
okay.
Yeah.
Show the other one too.
Hey, shout out Zina.
Yeah,
Shout out
definitely shout out Zina. She's dropping music very soon. She's got a project called Iron X that's going to be dropping this summer or late spring. And she's got a single coming out on February 14th. It's called Pure Potentiality.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm going for all these browns, like a lot of different various skin tones.
Brown
And
textures.
I love monochromatic like outfit inspiration in general, and just trying to stretch that to all the different shades of any given color. I mean, there are already so many browns and tans like in this jacket alone. And so then if I can find something to kind of meld it together, and then the bronzy, like kind of faded goldness of the jewelry pieces. But what's really killing me is the orange on these socks. I kind of can't stand it. It's like I've been thinking about it the whole time.
I think it works.
No, it works.
Yeah, your accent color.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't agree, but I appreciate the support. Yeah, this is I shop in
there's orange in the jacket
2 or
right
3
there.
XL women's section
That's the place.
that's where
the women's section in general, they have all the good stuff.
That's the drip, bro.
You can actually get colors.
Super
colored
psychedelic
clothing.
stuff.
Get colors,
Dude. I like
They don't make it
you
for
shop
men.
in the men's section, even at a thrift store, and if you just like squint your eyes and glaze over for a second, you see everything is gray and blue.
And that's the world. I mean, that's how people dress.
Most men are colorblind, anyways. So that's
Is that true? I don't think that's true.
Yeah, no. Statistically, men are more colorblind than women.
Really?
But not a majority, surely.
A good majority, and it could be a very like small amount of color, but like you can't see only certain colors. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard something similar to that.
More.
Yeah, because like one of my friends, we didn't find this out till we were gaming. Over COVID, we'd be like, "Hey, go to the blue marker," and you'd be like, which one's blue?" And we'd be like, "Are you colorblind?" And he's like, "Yeah, I actually can't see certain blues." And we're like,
"You're like great.
What?
You lost the game that day."
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so it's like,
Yo, Leo, gigging. What is your gig like rituals? Do you show up to a gig like hammered? Are you a cigarette smoker?
Yeah, looking at Leo's had 3 shots of whiskey before getting on the interview.
I drink water.
That's good.
That's one hell of a pregame.
I drink a lot of water all day. I do vocal warm-ups.
I actually have to pee at all times. I drink so
there you
much
go.
water.
Oh god,
that's kind of the goal.
I, when possible, do Wim Hof breathing with my band before we go on stage.
Okay. What is that?
Wim Hof breathing.
People that don't know what that is.
you know what?
It's when you inhale. I'll do 2 Wim Hof breaths. So in your nose.
Get the mic with it so we can experience it.
I'm sure it's picking it up.
So circular breaths, intense inhale through the nose or through the mouth, and then definitely out of the mouth. And you do that 30 times. And then once you reach the top of the cycle, you've worked up perhaps some lightheadedness. But and you can do this aggressively, or you can do it very calmly.
Okay.
It depends on what
aggressive. Then.
If I'm going to sleep, I'm doing it very calmly. I can kind of lull myself to sleep with this. If I'm trying to amp up my brain and trying to enter into a creative space, I'm doing it maybe more aggressively. Yeah. And then I get to 30, hold the breath for maybe 5 seconds, get kind of a head rush, let it out, and then empty your lungs completely of air. And you're able to sit there with empty lungs for anywhere from a minute to 3 minutes, depending on if you've done other rounds prior.
Okay.
Because there's so much oxygen in your bloodstream that you don't need to intake more oxygen.
Yes.
And when you can do that with a room of other creative people that you're about to go on stage with, there is a certain synergy that happens and maybe some germs that are being passed through the air. By the end, you all have the same DNA. And so
not a COVID approved warm up.
So it's kind of a leveling out of the spiritual playing field. That's the hope, at least. And
that's awesome.
Sometimes it can freak you out even more if you do it too aggressively, because it's
adrenaline.
It's an agitator, you know, and so you need to be careful with it. And we've done it before cherry pit shows in large groups, and I think it has freaked people out before. And so I'm like, okay, we need to be more responsible about how we lead this.
Breathing is like powerful as fuck.
It is, and so if you're doing it in a large group, like it can actually be very scary.
That's wild.
To be surrounded by 15 other people that are all going,
especially if you've like never done it before, and like there's some skill in doing it, you know.
Yeah, so like,
let's breathe now, and then you're thinking like in a yoga,
and you're like,
and then meditative, and it's like,
it's like primal almost.
I mean,
it's super primal.
Think of watching a horror movie, and you're in a moment of tension, and all you hear is like.
Right, because that's what you do.
That's freaky.
It's freaky. Yeah. So you need to be
yeah.
very intentional about breath work, especially if you're doing it with other people. But that, when I am able to do it, is excellent.
Okay. For a good ritual.
For a pre-show ritual.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And sometimes we start our sets with a drone of some kind where we're just kind of boom, 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 on one note, trying to get the audience to sing along, or we just kind of settle ourselves into one chord for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then
start the set. That's awesome. I'm going to take that. I'm taking notes. Love that. What about psychedelics? You folks have ever tried any mushrooms or anything in your days? That sweater tells me yes.
Sweater or not, the answer is also yes.
Nice.
just tried some stuff out.
Yeah. Did you enjoy?
I've had a variety of different experiences. I think one thing that's happened for me is I've often gone into them hoping to like really learn something, really take it away, and that's often hindered really appreciting the experience while it was happening.
You're like searching for something. While
Yeah.
Oh, you're like,
I'm
out of my way.
I've come out of it and I've lost information myself,
which is good, arguably. You know?
So
Feel that
it's
brain.
definitely not like necessarily a source of entertainment for myself.
It's medicine. I mean, all these things are medicine if you're talking about plant medicine and stuff like that.
But I feel like it's worth doing once.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's like there's some experiences on that. Like I don't necessarily need to do it a ton or again, but like once you've done it once, it's just I don't know, you're tapping into something. I think the first time I ever did psychedelics, I realized like I think I may be tapping into something that I didn't know existed. And
it's sick.
And like me and my friend did it at the same time, and we had some similar experiences.
Yeah,
and we were like, that's pretty trippy that without communicating, we saw the same stuff. And maybe that kind of energy is just really here, and that let us tap into it.
We don't see it.
Yeah,
with the bare eye.
Yeah, like there might be like there's a other like dimension layered on top of ours that we like tapped into. So
for real,
I don't know. I think
undeniable sometimes when you're in that. State where, like this has to be real.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's value to, like I see it as like just people go to like a place of the world they've never been before, but see this stuff as sort of like some I mean, it can be destructive for sure,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
But if you view it as a vacation. Like something to experience, it's very different.
Experience for sure.
So I don't know if I subscribe to this philosophy necessarily. However, a friend once told me that they don't trust people who haven't traversed different realities, multiple different realities. And that doesn't necessarily need to be a psychedelic drug. It could be intense exercise.
Meditation.
It could be meditation. It could be music.
Yes.
But somebody who squanders their existence or just like pushes it into one sober context, or if someone's an alcoholic, I mean,
just
that's more universal.
Context.
Is like the people don't trust alcoholics on principle, but why is that?
Yeah.
They're trapped in one singular reality. Like besides the fact that they're perhaps unreliable and that the
drug is ruling too much
it's
in their
unhealthy.
life.
But think about it from the
effects.
perspective of them just being trapped in this one singular reality. Like they're not experiencing enough pockets of what it means to be a person. And so I think that there's a lot of value in exploring the psychedelic landscape for that reason. Personally, it's not something that I do anymore because it brings a lot of anxiety into my body. And I think that there is certainly a great deal to be learned from that.
For sure.
And I don't know how to tackle that lesson yet. I've had extremely positive, profound experiences on psychedelics, holding fistfuls of dirt, like staring into the sun, understanding the importance of nature, and feeling like I am a tree with roots, like going down into the earth. Like I've had moments like that that I can still actually very viscerally feel.
Tearjerkers.
I can feel like where roots would come out of my fingertips and my toes. I understand that feeling, and I can feel it right now as I'm talking about it.
That's beautiful.
But if I crushed up some mushrooms and I ate them right now, I would freak out.
Well, Todd,
it's like set and setting, right?
So it's been a number of years for me since I've had a positive experience, and it's been maybe a year and a half since I've done anything like that, and I don't have any plans to. But there will come a time once again, and
it sounds like a fortune, like a Game of Thrones. There will come a time,
but that ball of
a fortnight,
that ball of anxiety in my solar plexus will need to be addressed.
Yes.
To
before embarking again,
or when I mean I'll need to go in ready for that.
How would you tackle that then without those psychedelics?
Well, there's a certain intuition that comes with a psychedelic experience, and I figure I'll need to find that in the real world. Real world, and I'll need to find that in my sober reality.
Sure,
find that intuitive kind of shooting star of psychedelica, and I'll need to like catch it.
Yeah.
kind of rub it on my chest, and then maybe I can take a magic mushroom.
And then
But
meet it fully.
First, you need to catch a star.
There needs to be. I
You
need.
must be tripping.
Yeah, I'll have to find
Leo,
out.
wake up! Wake up!
You're touching
I
stars.
kind of love that metaphor.
Mhm.
First, you have to catch a shooting star.
Yeah.
Before
I
you
also-
can take psychedelics.
Now that we're on the topic
Beautiful.
It is.
of anxiety, I wanted to bring up this correlation
Yeah.
because I think as artists we talk about excitement a lot,
Yeah.
and when we talk about upcoming projects, there's always I'm so excited to do this. I'm excited to do that.
Mhm.
And for years, I was obsessed with excitement and trying to find that in everything I was
Mhm.
doing.
Mhm.
I think a lot of artists are obsessed with excitement.
Interesting.
And
Do you think
my
that's
own-
a unique to musician or
No.
an art as
It's like a
in
dopamine.
as a feel?
I'm
well,
speaking to
yeah.
artists because that's what we've been speaking to this whole
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
But I'm sure there's something inherently human about it.
Mhm.
But there is a correlation between excitement and anxiety that I think is
Very
important
similar.
for us to examine.
Mhm.
In the same way that love and hate are polar opposites.
It's not to interrupt you, but yeah, I think what I heard is the same emotion actually, like
Yeah.
scientifically.
I've heard that
nervousness
too.
And excitement or anxiety and
Mhm.
excitement. It's two ends of the same
Same-
stick.
yeah, it's like same butterflies in your stomach. You know?
Yeah,
It can
yeah. It's
either
like the
be
same chemical.
I
Can't
can't
eat.
eat, or
That's why if you're
I
anxious,
can't eat.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
a half.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like and I'm anxious to do this. No, I'm excited to do this.
Mm,
You know, that's what I've
Yes.
heard. You know, about a scientific explanation for it.
certainly. So I'm putting out a blast that hopefully as musicians we can question our constant use of that word
Mhm.
and like
Of excitement.
and
Like, are you actually just nervous
and-
to release this?
and
You know?
continuously affirming that into our social landscape, the excitement of upcoming projects.
Mhm.
I think of course, excitement is a powerful thing, and I continue to seek it out, and it's important fuel for making art.
Mhm.
But we also need to be wary of overexciting our nervous systems.
No, for sure.
So are you saying that you want to like put out there the thought that you don't have to be as like stop forcing excitement? Like what are you?
Just to be
What's the question?
Just to be cognizant of it.
Yeah.
Just to bring
Yeah.
awareness
There's
to
a lot
it.
of anxiety too in people though, and it's like
Mhm.
artists and stuff too. So it's like, yeah, just even talking about it is good.
Just to be aware of that duality and that relationship between
Yeah,
those
yeah,
two
yeah.
emotions. That's all.
That I see.
Yeah, no, it does seem like it's one and the same a lot of the times. Is that nervous excitement feeling, you know, anxiety to excitement pipeline. But,
I think there's like a realm of anxiety where it's allowed. It can switch between either.
Yeah.
But for me, there's definitely anxiety that like, no matter how much I like tell myself it's excitement, that shit is
Right.
not that is not excitement. You know.
You're just excited about
I think-
throwing up.
Yeah, it's like
That's
you
fun.
know. So I imagine there's like a Venn diagram of the emotions. You
Yeah.
know, there's an area where you could reframe it, but there's definitely areas of each where you're like,
The extremes.
you're not.
It's still the other end of the pole. It's still somewhere
Right. Well,
else. I
well,
guess.
how rare it is do you just feel one emotion at a time?
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, I often found it fascinating that we have terms for emotions at all, right?
Yeah.
Like, because immediately saying you're happy is describing a range of physical phenomena that you're saying attribute closest to that word versus
Right.
any other word,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's not like a state you switch into when you're happy,
It's
right?
a lot of different emotions. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like anxious, you could see why don't we have 100 different words for being anxious based on like how anxious you are or what type of anxiety you have.
Language in general.
Lexapro anxiety,
or
Right?
glass of wine.
Or glass of wine anxiety,
or
yeah.
both.
Right, but like the fact that like there's an anecdote right that the Inuit have like 100 different words for snow,
Mm.
right? But this is a very much more philosophical question of like why do we have single words for such large groups
Yeah.
of feelings, sort of.
What's interesting about that is that's a very exclusive like English thing because in a lot of other languages they have multiple words for like that kind of all mean the same thing and for, like, singular like feelings and stuff like that.
Like I'm sure different languages have different like breakdowns of the emotions, and that probably
Yeah.
like influences cultural feelings
Oh,
too,
absolutely.
right? Like
Mhm.
if you were to draw the line between anxiety and excitement in a different place culturally, that probably shifts how you treat. Maybe you would never describe being excited before a musical performance. Maybe that doesn't happen in other languages.
Yeah.
perhaps. And I also think of how monotone English is as a style of speaking, specifically in the U.S., specifically in the Midwest of the United States.
Yeah.
The way that we use English to communicate is pretty flat. And I think of people
Like vocally.
Yeah, and I think of the way people sound when they speak Spanish, they speak Mandarin. There's
Spanish is
like,
beautiful,
like that.
Yes.
And it's faster. And so like when you slow down, like there's emphasis there. And there's a music to these Romance languages that English doesn't have.
I love writing in Spanish, dude.
I mean, it has
it's easier for me
accents.
to write music in Spanish. It just
Really?
flows better. I can just rhyme everything, and it just because it's like everything ends in like a O or E, so you can just rhyme a bunch.
That is fascinating.
Was Spanish the first or second language?
First, I was born in Mexico City.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Came over here right before 9/11, and then it's been that many years. So
What year were you born?
97.
Cool.
Yeah. Question everybody faces on this podcast: aliens, yes or no?
Oh, I saw this. I saw the clip of Anaya responding to this.
It's a must. We got to find out. The fans want to know.
Have you guys answered this question a million times yet?
Oh yeah, I mean I've seen them. I've seen UFOs.
I'm not even going to go down this rabbit hole.
He hates it.
I hate it because like I've just relived this moment like so many.
This conversation.
This is traumatizing.
like it's like yes, do I? Yes, but yeah.
Maybe we got to reframe the question. Have you guys ever seen a UFO?
No, I have not.
You believe in big-headed green little men?
No to that too. Aliens, yes.
Just regular headed.
Just regular aliens.
I don't know about the big head green ones, but you know.
Green ones, but you know the gray ones.
The gray talls? Yeah.
Oh, they're definitely gray. No.
You just know for sure.
I thought that was the Benadryl man.
Oh, fuck, the Hat Man? That's a whole nother
I
conversation.
just thought like rats were aliens.
They said cats, yeah.
Off pure intuition, I'll say yes. It's not something I've deep dived into.
Okay.
But I think it would make sense that there are aliens that are out there that know that we exist that are choosing to stay away from us, given our general nature and way of being. I mean, because when you look at all the life on Earth and the way that humans have relegated it to this very specific place in our society where it's like anything that's not humans can go over here, and then everything else is bent to the will of our wants and needs.
Yeah, literally.
And so if I was an alien, you know, light years away, and I witnessed that,
I think that we should stay over here, away from those guys.
Eating the cows.
Have you guys heard of the dark forest theory?
No.
The dark forest theory is
Please,
this idea
this is news. I need
that there's a reason that we haven't noticed any aliens is that everybody's intentionally staying silent in the universe. Because as soon as you put yourself out there, every other society has two options. Either to assume that you are more powerful than they are, and therefore to stay silent yourself, or two, to instantly go and destroy that society for fear that they're going to destroy you back. It's like a very militaristic view of it, but it's an idea
that's fascinating.
Yeah, definitely look into it. I learned about
Dark
it reading
Forest theory?
the 3 Body Problem book. Fucking incredible.
Damn.
But yeah, it's this idea that like there is aliens, but nobody can actually show their presence for fear that a more destructive society would instantly take them out.
it's a very human theory.
Oh, it totally is.
I'm just laughing, like thinking about just like Lockheed Martin, like aliens become real. Stock goes fucking way up because they're ready to fucking bomb the shit out of
fucking aliens.
Well, it's certainly like you were saying, a mindset that's bent on the idea that humans are non-unique in their desire to destroy others, right? Like for all we know, that's an entirely human trait.
Right. I mean, have any of you read Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut?
I know the
Dude,
title.
Kurt Vonnegut's fantastic, though.
I know of it, but never read it.
There's a beautiful depiction of aliens in that book where the main character, he's a traumatized war veteran, and it jumps through different parts of his life and eventually finds himself abducted on a spaceship. And his communication with the aliens, which is all telepathic, is very illuminating, and I think shows a perspective that is far less militaristic than this dark forest theory. And they're completely stuck out of time in their perspective. And they're seeing everything that has happened, everything that will happen, everything that is currently happening.
All is on timeline.
It all is continuously just is.
Yeah.
And the way that it's written and described in that book is very poetic and funny. It's a very funny book.
It's a full book.
I'm gonna read that.
I've only read his short stories.
Yeah.
Kurt Vonnegut, also a great author of short stories.
Yes, he is some of my favorite. Harrison Bergeron's fantastic.
We want the listeners to read more, man. We're trying to get everybody's IQ up. So listen to this.
Yeah, the 3 Body Problem. They have a show on Netflix, but the book itself is just way better.
Okay, but we're gonna check into it. We got rapid fire questions. Astrological signs.
Sagittarius.
Aries.
Fine, I ran out of questions.
that was the rapid fire single question.
Free Luigi? Free Luigi, yes or no?
I don't know if free is.
I don't know anything about that.
Oh, okay.
Glad for the conversation.
Yes or no?
Well, I mean, what I'll say
I'm just
is
kidding.
any CEO getting murdered, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I hope they kill Elon Musk. I
That'd
hope
be
they
great.
kill Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I hope all those.
Yeah.
I hope all those men
Well, they're trying.
are put into a hole.
The fact that
I'm
it
sure
hasn't
that
happened
I'm sure that
is
they are.
upsetting.
I hate all those fucking guys. I hope they burn in hell.
Yeah. I mean, this is, we
Second
interviewing
that.
you guys and everything, but I do like to get a lot of these messages out there to the viewers. Like the revolutionary kind of thing,
No,
we're talking
for
about
sure.
community is important. And it's like, no, we are in a class warfare right now, and they want us to be confused with, trans this or black this.
Well, I
and
think
it's
that's
like-
something that's been happening for forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That most things are surface level distractions from class
yeah.
consciousness.
Gladiator, right?
Bread and circus, man.
Yes.
Not to say that those other things aren't, important or have value, but
Not to
just
say the Super Bowl
in
is
the
going to be
face.
great tomorrow, and who knows what's going to get passed in Congress while we're.
What is Kendrick gonna do?
Well, that's the thing. Well, I mean, Kendrick is somebody who has addressed this issue repeatedly,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that he's the one playing the Super Bowl this year. And
It's
I
going
hope
to be good.
And I hope that Trump is there. There's some word that he might have been in attendance, and if he is, I
Yeah.
hope Kendrick does something brave
Yeah.
in communication. Probably inadvertently is what it would be because
For
the NFL is a strange, like Christian organization.
It's weird,
Is it really?
With Jay-Z there too.
It's an advertising haven, so they gotta play to the likes of the people that.
That's
pay the
true.
bills.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they let Kendrick do it at all, given that situation. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
he's
sure
been
they-
extremely outspoken on his records.
For real. It's going to be good. I'm excited though. I think it's because Jay-Z got to pick him or whatever.
It's,
so
it's
he's
all about
at-
eyes at the end of the day. That's playing into
Yeah.
the will of the
I hear he's not getting paid except minimum
They never
wage.
get paid.
I guess, right? But they'll put up like $8 million. Apple's putting up $8 million for production, but then the exposure is just like
The exposure, I think, is exposure as
He's
a
getting paid minimum wage.
$1,000.
no artist gets paid for halftime shows.
They have to get paid like
They get paid in
$7.25 an hour.
exposure, which I think is one of the biggest scams of the art industry is exposure. But
It is, yeah. But this specific one,
somehow I don't believe that for like Michael Jackson.
no, I think it was everybody. Like every,
people pay
I could be wrong. But
millions for 30 seconds of ad space on the Super Bowl, so he's getting 15 minutes to perform. That's
yeah,
pretty
that's the
damn,
idea. But I still think
yeah.
that's once you get to the scale of playing at the Super Bowl halftime show, surely you don't need the,
No,
Oh, yes,
obviously you
Well,
don't
the streams
necessarily
will be-
need the capital, but I'm just thinking of like in Michael Jackson's case, who like the people that were on his team were notorious for like
needing
being
money.
hounds on
Well, like I said, they
Well,
paid
good
the
for
production,
them.
though. So they
like
pay the
Sony
dancers.
and everything else, which owned all of his like stuff. They
Yeah.
That
were,
was crazy. Rest in peace, Michael Jackson.
yeah.
Maybe. Is he dead?
we need another hour for.
We do. What are we at, by the way? What time is it?
We're probably just
What's-
about
what time
an
is it
hour.
right now?
It's 4:56. So yeah,
Okay.
we've done an hour.
Yeah.
Sometime.
But
just about.
did we cover all the topics?
Did we?
Yeah, gentlemen,
There's
anything
two-
else
there's two
that
packs
we
still
might
on.
want to shout out? But we're going to put your links, obviously.
Yeah, I think let's just do one more plug for this Berlin residency.
Please, let's talk about
Next
it one more.
Wednesday.
Yeah, so we will be there every Wednesday in February. We will be there the last 3 Wednesdays in March,
Oh, fuck
and for any other future things, we'll let you know.
yeah. Yes.
And it is a open jam residency for musicians, for creative people. We're trying to create this vibration in between a traditional jazz jam and what we're calling a house show jam or basement jam. There's a certain spiritual freedom that comes from the house show that we wish to bring together with the excellence of jazz music and bring it together into a space where we're improvising with a reverence for great music that has come before us, with a presence and a deliberate connection point between all the musicians on stage and the audience. If you're a musician, there are tunes of the week that you can learn ahead of
Hell
time
yeah.
so that you
Those
can...
are posted on both our Instagram page and our free Patreon, where you don't have to get inhibited by the Instagram algorithm to see what we post.
Facts. Yeah, that's definitely a big deal.
That
'cause-
dang algorithm. I
Yeah,
built this
actually,
algorithm.
like
Yeah.
we post stuff, right, and like 20% of our followers will see it, and we're
It's
like,
fried,
we
bro.
just want to let you guys know
Right,
what's
right.
going
You don't even
on.
want to show people that don't follow you. Like, at
Yeah.
least the followers.
Yeah.
I hope that at least they would see it.
Right, we're doing local shit, and so
Mhm.
we're trying to reach our local audience, and so the fact that we're our content is being shown 75% to people who are all over the world, it's irrelevant to us because we're trying to get people to show up to this specific place at Berlin to make
in-person community.
Which is funny. Other people would love to be in your shoes, that can't get their shit out of the 30 people locally, and then they wanted to see it,
I mean, it's not going out crazy anyway, but yeah.
The grass is always greener. No, but I know what you mean, that damn algorithm, though. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, Cherry Pit, man.
Yeah. Cherry Pit.
Come in attendance, come draw with me in the corner.
Yeah.
Come listen to some good ass music. Hang with your friends.
One question I do kind of have. So for this next year, what is like your goal with this? Like what are you guys planning to like do to continue this in
past March?
It's a great question. We're only laughing because like we were just at Leo's house upstairs writing down our goals for 2025 list. Yeah. So yeah, Leo, I don't.
We have a concert film dropping in the summertime. We shot a concert in November of 2023 with Charmaine, who's now known as Solora the Essence.
Okay.
Javon Williams.
What a talent.
Javon is a beast. Ada Magdalena, Jimmy, Kiyab, Ian, and myself. So that was the last big Cherry Pit show that we did. We filmed the whole thing. Andres Almuerza.
It looks beautiful.
Shot
it.
So
fun.
Damn.
Yeah, really beautiful.
Sounds great. It's a little over an hour.
Is that the Marvelous set then? Or
I did some of my music in that set. Yeah, so we're dropping that concert film along with a live record later this year.
And this will be like the first opportunity to have fully produced Cherry Pit music online.
Cherry Pit music.
Which we're really excited about. We want to do like a premiere showing at a theater. So we'll have opportunity to come see that live in person and experience that as a community as well. We're going to drop like the songs individually online leading up to it, and
we'll get the hype going.
Oh, we're excited.
Yeah, and beyond that, we're just going to continue to gather and improvise with one another, and we'll have more social events of other sorts, just community-oriented events for Minneapolis creatives, Twin Cities creatives in general.
We'll finally have some clothing drop hopefully before this summer. I've talked about not wanting to do the Cherry Pit merch to feel like merch, but to feel like a clothing line. So hopefully something beautiful will come out.
Ooh, with you on the designs?
Hopefully, I'm excited. I'm excited. Solid. I mean, we've been working on designs for forever.
Yeah, years.
Yeah, literally years. So
time to act, dude. No, I feel. I mean, you guys are young, and I feel like you guys are really authentic and really like you really mean it. You know what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
and you're not putting up a front or anything, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Of course, and I appreciate you making this happen, reaching out, and I'm glad we're here.
Yeah. Thank you guys. This was fun.
Appreciate the space to share our story and
totally.
And thank you for pulling up to the jam on Wednesday.
Of course, dude. Yeah, I'm pretty close to there, so I'll definitely try to be there again this week.
Very cool.
Yeah,
it'll be sick, dude. Well, yeah, man. Well, Cherry Pit, check it out. Leo, Skye.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Ben, Francisco,
me.
We're peacing out.
We happen to be peacing out.
Cheers.
Thank you,
gentlemen. Put her there. Boy.